Hello everyone, and welcome. Without a doubt, the battle between Satoru Gojo and Sukuna was the pinnacle of Jujutsu Kaisen. The battle between the strongest showed us the possible and the impossible in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. But even after more than a year since the end of this insane battle between the strongest, there are some facts that don't make sense. Like why Satoru Gojo didn't regenerate after being cut in half by Sukuna. After all, Satoru Gojo is the strongest of the modern era of Jujutsu Kaisen, managing to go head-to-head with Sukuna, having the capacity to stay alive inside the King of Curses domain expansion, and managing to almost completely disintegrate Maharaga. Why couldn't he regenerate after being cut in half by the King of Curses, even though he had managed to recover his cursed energy production after hitting a black flash on Merged Beast Agito, especially since Yuki Tsukumo was cut in half by Kenjaku and still managed to create a black hole? Okay, here I'm going to compare the two situations and give the definitive answer as to why this didn't happen. But first, I'm going to give a brief explanation of what reverse cursed energy is and how it works, so I don't get too repetitive. I'll call reverse cursed energy positive energy, just to make it shorter to say. Positive cursed energy is an ability in Jujutsu Kaisen that converts negative cursed energy into positive energy. This is achieved through a complex process of multiplying negative cursed energy by itself, allowing the user to regenerate any damage suffered. Whether it's a scratch or a torn-off limb, cursed energy comes from negative emotions and therefore cannot be used to heal living beings, unlike cursed spirits, which, as they are created from the accumulation of negative human feelings, are pure cursed energy. However, positive cursed energy is like a poison to cursed spirits. An example of this is the kiss Yuta gave the cockroach cursed spirit to kill it. Cursed energy is generated in the gut, in the region of the navel. This energy flows to the brain, where the user converts this negative energy into positive energy by multiplying it by itself. This principle is based on the mathematical concept that negative times negative equals positive. This positive energy can be used to heal the body, transforming the positive energy into blood, muscle, bone, or any necessary tissue, healing any damage to the user, and can even regenerate lost limbs and organs. However, this consumes an enormous amount of cursed energy. The main tactic to combat a user of the reverse curse technique is to attack their head, just as Hajime tried to do with Hakari. There are two other ways, which are poisoning, which requires a higher level of reverse curse technique. Two examples are Choso's poison attacking Uraume, and when Hajime tried to poison Hakari with chlorine gas. And the last way is by interrupting the flow of reverse cursed energy to the brain, either by decapitating or cutting the sorcerer in half, which is what happened to Yuki Tsukumo and Satoru Gojo were cut in half. But the similarities end there. The context of the battle is completely different. Let me explain. In her battle against Kenjaku, Yuki was using cursed energy in a more limited way, only healing damage that prevented her from continuing to fight, not completely healing superficial damage, for example. When she was hit by Kenjaku's domain expansion and had her arm broken, even though she was completely beaten up, she took a while to heal, only doing so when Choso asked. Yuki was not transforming her cursed energy into positive energy, apparently only producing cursed energy to use her innate technique. When Kenjaku lands his final blow on Yuki, she only had the cursed energy she had already produced available, something that would be possible. Yuki could use the energy she had available, transform it into positive energy, and sort of try to glue the two parts of her body back together. It wouldn't be possible to create the part of her body from the waist down, as that would consume too much cursed energy, something she wouldn't have. But it would be possible for her to try to join the two parts and try to heal herself by gluing the two parts. Even after being cut in half, she managed to remain conscious and had enough cursed energy to create a black hole with her technique. So this would be a possible way out. But instead of trying to save herself, she chose to sacrifice herself, trying to take Kenjaku with her to save Master Tengen. But now we get to Gojo's part, and things get more difficult. Skipping the entire part of the fight, Gojo uses positive energy, reconstructing part of his brain, and enduring all the damage from Sukuna's domain expansion. When Gojo is hit by Mahoraga's slash, he was already close to the limit of his positive energy, only managing to regenerate his arm when he hit a black flash on Agito, where he recovers his cursed energy with it. After Gojo used the unrestricted purple and saw Sukuna's condition, he let his guard down, and the positive positive energy he had, he was using to heal the damage from his own attack. Even though he said the damage was less than he imagined, the left side of his face was very bruised. We can't say exactly the real damage and how much he had to heal. In these final moments for Gojo, he let his guard down, thinking the fight was already won, and his positive energy had been used intensively since the beginning of the battle with Sukuna. Due to this fact, it can be deduced that Gojo might have slowed down the rate of cursed energy and positive energy production after his apparent victory, besides the fact that he was still healing from his own attack. Even though both Gojo and Yuki were cut in half, Yuki was in battle, producing cursed energy and positive energy. She had a certain reserve of cursed energy to remain conscious, still keeping her two arms to be able to crawl and launch her final attack. Unlike Gojo, who was caught off guard by his apparent victory, where he possibly stopped producing cursed energy, without his arms to be able to try to crawl, and the positive energy he had was used to heal from his own attack. Even though Gojo was conscious, and even gave a slight smile when Sukuna complimented him, in the panel where he is already on the ground, it can be seen that he had a tired expression. The smile Gojo gave was most likely his last strength draining away. The sneaky blow that Sukuna dealt ended any chance of Gojo's reaction and survival. Since I talked about what is possible within the manga, I can extend myself to a more logical theme about Gojo's death, which is about the narrative. Now, what I'm gonna say will make Gojo fans hunt me down for the rest of their lives, but this is the plain truth. If you set aside the fanaticism and use your brain, you'll see that I'm right. The best thing that happened was Gojo dying. But wait, before returning to the witch hunt, I admit Gojo is one of the best characters in Jujutsu Kaisen. He is the most charismatic character in the work. If you were to make a compilation of the funniest moments, Gojo would be in most, if not all of them. I say the best thing was Gojo dying for two reasons, which are character development and the narrative itself. Starting with the narrative, it would not be intelligent for Gege to bring Gojo back for a second round, for the same reason Gojo was sealed in Shibuya. Other characters need space to shine. For example, in the Culling Game arc, Kinji Hakari, Hajime Kashimo, Higuruma, Takaba, Hana were introduced. Maki with the complete heavenly restriction was introduced. If it were left only in Gojo's hands, none of these characters would have an important role. They would only be introduced and discarded without doing anything important in the narrative. Not to mention that Jujutsu Kaisen is a shonen manga where the protagonist is Yuji Itadori, not Gojo. Narratively, the only one who should surpass and defeat Sukuna is Itadori. It wouldn't make sense for Gojo to solve the whole problem and the protagonist to stay on the side without the spotlight. The second point, character development. I'm going to use two examples, Sukuna and Hajime Kashimo. Sukuna lived his way, eating when he wanted, playing with whom he wanted, and killing whoever annoyed him, living the only way he knew how. Hajime was lonely. He was loved only because he was the strongest. He reciprocated that love by massacring them. But Gojo was a little different. He had Geto, who was the second most powerful. Only Geto understood Gojo's nuances, things that someone weaker couldn't grasp. But after Geto's death, Gojo found himself alone, with no one to understand him. After Geto's death, Gojo felt lonely, something that only the strongest can know. Even though Gojo is arrogant, he carries a lot of loneliness and perhaps even a certain degree of depression. In the fight against Sukuna, that Gojo felt good about fighting and dying at the hands of someone stronger than him, something that was necessary so as not to feel isolated as the strongest. Although Gojo's death is sad, it was a good ending to his development arc. But tell me in the comments, do you agree with what was presented in this video? Leave your opinion in the comments. That's all for today. God bless, who is the foundation of everything. And I'll see you next time.